Also, just to confirm to you that we are going to hold a number of press briefings or press conferences relating to different aspects of the work that we do as the Ministry of Investment, Trade and Industry. But this particular one is specifically for the Forbes Under 30 Summit, because it is coming in a few weeks' time, and we thought it was important that we told the media that we hear it from the horse's mouth, so to speak. But before I proceed with my very short remarks, because I believe that for the most part we would like to have it as interactive as possible. Before I proceed, let me recognize my assistant, Karabo Sokratare, and introduce the new peers that are fresh from the box. Some of you might have not seen her before or known her before. She's the Permanent Secretary. How many days old now? A few days old in the first. Mrs. Kehanele Malikoma. Let me also acknowledge our partner from the private sector, representing the BS and the private sector in general, Ms. Pat Dambe, who has been very instrumental in helping us put this initiative together. But now coming on to why we are here. Before I go to the Forbes Under 30 Summit itself, I think it is important for me to stress something. This is one initiative, and it is one initiative that will add to the overall objectives of what we do. As government, the overall objective is entrepreneurship development. We want to see private sector-led growth. We want to see citizen participation. We want to see our youth develop. And for us to do that, there will be a number of initiatives, projects that we will undertake as government, that will undertake in partnership with the private sector. So this is just one initiative that answers to all those initiatives, all those objectives and goals of government, those of entrepreneurship development, of private sector growth, of citizen participation, and youth development. Now, I have to say this so that you understand that this is not just an isolated summit that comes to Botswana and that's it. It is something that is in addition to all other initiatives and projects that we are undertaking, that we will continue to undertake even going into the future. Now, the Under 30 Summit comes to the world's greatest growth market, Africa. I'm sure you are all aware that Africa is growing significantly, and everybody the world over is looking at Africa. And I'm very proud that this summit is coming to Africa for the first time, and it's not only coming to Africa, but it is coming to our very own country, Botswana. The summit will be held from the 19th to the 23rd of April 2020 in Gaborone and Kasai. I think it's also the first time that they're holding the summit in two locations in country. Usually they go to one location in a country and then have the whole summit there over the 4 to 5 days. So this time around they'll be in Gaborone for the first 2.5 days, and then they'll move over to Kasai. The summit brings the world's most elite young entrepreneurs and game changers, and they will convene here. There will be 600 of them, at least 600. 200 from the African community, 200 from the Forbes Under 30 community worldwide, that is beyond Africa, and then there will be 200 from Botswana. So the 600 is made up of 200 Botswana, 200 Africa, and 200 global. The summit will be in Gaborone for the first 2 days, as I've already indicated, and here we'll have government speakers and representatives. We'll have venture capitalists and business role models coming to speak to the young entrepreneurs, to provide them with inspiration, because these are the future business leaders and leaders in general. Because some of them, they will be sharing with them their experiences, they will be mentoring them and coaching them as to what is it that you need to do, how do you ensure that your business grows, and how do you ensure that your footprint continues to grow globally as a business. But for us here also, it is important also to emphasize this. When they come to a country, they ensure that they not only bring their people there, but there's something also that they get and learn from that particular country or that particular location. Therefore, our local artists will have a role to play, our chefs, so that they can have a bit of taste of the local Botswana cuisine. Nobody comes to Botswana and eats seswa for the first time and they don't have anything to say about seswa. So we will have the opportunity to showcase our local cuisine. They will also experience our local music, our culture, and many different aspects of who we are as a people in Botswana. This event will give the young entrepreneurs opportunity to network and to pitch their ideas and see what opportunities lies there for them. After the second day, then they'll go to the Chome National Park to go to Kasane. And in Kasane, the summit will focus on sustainability with a special day of programming in the wilderness, a sunset river cruise, and a special one day of safari that ranks among the best in Africa. If you know Botswana very well, that will be one of the best that I think they will remember. So what are the objectives of the event? The summit itself is to promote youth development and entrepreneurship, so you can see that it is aligned to the overall government objectives. It's also to provide a platform for networking for the young entrepreneurs and to position Botswana as a preferred destination for meetings, conferences, and exhibitions. And in addition, there will be a lot of economic benefits to us as a nation. Now, there has been a number of questions, concerns in the media. Wherever you go, people are asking a lot of questions. So today we are here so that we can answer some of them. But one of them has been, how does one get to participate in the Forbes Under 30 Summit? You may be aware that there was a call to submit applications, and the closing date was the 3rd of February. The closing date was the 3rd of February. And there have also been a number of issues, some of which I'm sure the media will be asking so that we can clarify. But we just wanted to also be clear that the Forbes Under 30 Africa list and nomination is overseen by Forbes Africa. So the list for Africa is overseen by Forbes Africa as one of the Forbes local licensees in the region. Also, I think, what is the role of the different stakeholders? As government, we are working with the private sector. This is one of those I believe is going to be a very successful public-private partnerships to bring a summit of this nature together. As government and the private sector will be providing the financial support as well as the operational support to ensure that this summit is the best of its kind. What we hope to achieve is that if this is successful, and I know it's going to be successful, but the conversation that we've already had with Forbes is that if this is successful, then you'll have the opportunity to host future events in Botswana. So we are looking to make sure that it is the best that they have seen the world over. And once that is done, then we can be guaranteed that when we say we are available next time around, they will consider Botswana favorably to host the next Under 30 Summit. I think also one of the benefits for us that we need to highlight, because somebody, I think was on social media, somebody was asking about what is Forbes. I'm like, okay, then we'll have to explain. Those of you who understand Forbes and the different aspects of Forbes and what they do, when they come for a summit into a country, they bring with them their resources, they bring with them the full media muscle. So when they land in Botswana, Botswana will be out there. They'll be using all their platforms, magazines, their websites, their online and social media channels, and the international televisions will be here. So they'll be using that to showcase the summit, and by doing that, Botswana as well will be put on the map. So that is also another advantage. Now, given that this is the first time in Africa, when this is successful, it will also be a success for Africa. When this is successful, it will be a success for us as Botswana. But the benefits are going to go beyond the days of the summit itself, because we are looking at future long-term partnerships that are going to come out of this summit. We're looking at networking that will see somebody who's coming up with an idea blossom and growing from a small or micro enterprise being a global and international company. That is what we see. Over time, this summit will help us to open up more opportunities to go into sectors that have never been gone into before in this nation, and eventually to create the necessary jobs for the youth and for everybody else in the economy. I'm trying to think of some of the questions that I've had being asked. The other question was let me talk to private sector participation before I speak to the total cost. Private sector participation, I have to start just today by thanking our private sector for their contribution, for being a team player. DBS, when I step down, I'll ask her to speak for just 2 minutes about their role as DBS, but they've already made a pledge to part sponsor some of the activities for the summit. The total cost of this summit is $1 million. It goes into hosting the event. We don't pay Forbes so that they come and host. The 1 million covers the total cost of the event. Now, DBS is sponsoring some of the costs, and because of this partnership, contribution from government, contribution from DBS, and other sectors of the private sector and other companies in the private sector, the 200 young entrepreneurs from Botswana, their cost is already paid. Their cost of attending and participating at the summit is already taken care of, the 200 from Botswana. The other 400, there's a fee that they have to pay to Forbes and all these other things. But for the 200 from Botswana, their cost has been taken care of, because we really want to ensure that we give them our best. They are not constrained by the lack of funding to be able to access something as big as this particular event. Now, on this note, I would also like to call upon other players in the private sector, other stakeholders, to come forward, because we still have a number of activities and areas where we need sponsorship. Because yes, we said government is a contributor, but we want to see more private sector than government playing a role. So I'd like to make a call to all companies in the private sector, all stakeholders, to come forward and to make their pledges and to ensure that together we bring this to Africa, we bring this to Botswana, and we make sure that it's very successful, it's the best that Forbes has ever seen. And with this, ladies and gentlemen, I think it would be better if I stop here and ask her to speak for just 2 minutes, and then we'll spend a lot of the time responding to your questions. Thank you very much.
I have 2 minutes starting from now, so I must be very strict. I come and present the private sector under the President's initiative, working under our minister and ministry. There are several members within the private sector that are involved. Honorable Minister mentioned ourselves, but I'd like to also indicate that as of late today, just before, First National Bank is now agreed to pledge, as well as ABSA is also pledged. So they are coming in. Can you hear me now? Am I that short? So the pledges are coming in, as the minister has said. There has been a significant appeal, and several other members of the private sector are now coming through with the pledges. So that's the first thing to say. And then the second thing, just to reiterate what our minister has said, it is very exciting to hold the first Africa Summit in Botswana. It means a lot to Forbes. They have never done it before. They hold a summit in Europe every year and in Israel every year for the Mediterranean and the United States. So this is a regional summit that has come, and Botswana was the choice. The minister was actually very instrumental working with the private sector to bring the summit in her previous position. And we basically worked very hard to be the country of choice against some very formidable other countries that hold conferences of this nature. So I'd like to thank the minister for her hard work and dedication before she became minister here, and we really appreciate it from the private sector. Thank you.